Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Now I'm someone who feels like I have a pretty good grasp of my personal style, and I have felt that way in recent years. I definitely do still try things and sometimes they don't work out, but I feel like I have a good grasp of what my core style is, even though I've struggled a lot to put into words what that is. For example, I do use the app Wearing. I've made 2 videos on that before, 2 about my experience with the app and 1 of it styling me. And in that I have input 3 style words, which I'll put on the screen for you right now, that I don't really feel encompass what I think my style is, but I have a really hard time putting it into words. However, recently, as I was drifting off to sleep one night, I had an epiphany. I had a moment of clarity in which I realized that my style is a Venn diagram. And I would like to share that with you. I'd like to expand on that with you and see if it makes sense to you the way it does to me. So it is a triple diagram or a 3-circle diagram. You can have many more circles in Venn diagrams. You can also have 2 circles in Venn diagrams, but mine has 3. The top circle I want to call colorful and playful. This is something I've really been in recently. Not that it is new to me, but recently, as of me filming this, I have worn a lot of bright, colorful outfits. And I think it's more colorful than playful, but I do still think that there is a playful element to it. The second circle, I do not have a good name for, but it's basically, it's going to be really long-winded, but it's basically not fully historical, but it has a tinge of historical to it. It has a bit of Swedish folkdräkt, although that has been sidelined by nationalists in recent years, and that's not something I subscribe to. No, thank you. But like that aesthetic, or the Norwegian bunad, I don't know how to say that, but I think it's really, really gorgeous. Also, this dress that I got in Japan this year, this skirt that I've had for many years, that kind of folkish, is that a correct word? I don't know, but that kind of style. For me, this means a lot of volume in my skirts, puff sleeves. It also means like this vest, for example, I feel falls under that, and I just don't have a good, name for that circle. And my third circle, I also don't have a good name for, but Teresa suggested librarian. Here I'm thinking a lot of white blouses, white button-downs, big skirts, like long skirts especially, and something librarian-y or stereotypically librarian-y over it. Okay, then between these circles we have overlap. And that's kind of where the fun happens for me. So between the colorful and playful circle and the folksy circle, if we're gonna get into aesthetics, I feel like eclectic grandpa is definitely something that fits under here and fits aspects of my wardrobe, grandma core as well, and just like the colorful side of this folksy style, right? And there is a lot of color in that style originally, and I have this vest, for example, that I feel bridges that gap between the colorful and the folksy. Between the folksy and the librarian, I feel like we get things like cottagecore, like hobbitcore. So like this dress and this whole outfit, I feel like we get academia, which leans somewhere between, for me, librarian and folksy, at least the way I think of it, the way I want to do it. And then between the librarian and the colorful and playful, I feel like we get this like 90s preschool teacher kind of aesthetic, which I don't have a lot of. I think of this dress in particular as a very 90s piece for me that I have, but just that sort of, again, the playful but with the skirts silhouettes. I don't really know how to bridge that gap, but I feel like there's definitely things that fall not fully in either of these 2 circles, but instead are on, the gradient between them, I suppose. But I just had this thought recently as I was drifting off to sleep, and it just made sense. Now, like I said, I don't have great names for at least 2 of these circles. Before I landed on the librarian name, which I'm not fully sold on still, I was mulling over words like feminine, classic, stuff like that, and neither of them felt quite right. I don't always think that I dress very feminine. I don't mind dressing femininely, but also what does feminine even mean, And as for classic, sure, in a way, because I'm thinking of it as certain silhouettes, and I do like my white button downs, and I do like my maxi skirts, and I do like some volume in my skirts, Is that classic? Maybe. But that for me leans more retro than necessarily classic, the way you hear people talk about like trench coats and blazers and like, I guess, timeless pieces, you know? That I don't really feel is what I do. And so classic didn't feel quite right, depending on how you interpret the word. Feminine didn't feel specific enough, nor quite right. And so I talked to Teresa about it. She suggested librarian. It's not fully there, but it is closer. Now, I guess when you look at the Venn diagram of the 3 circles, I have the overlaps between each of the 2 circles, but there is also that centerpiece, which I guess is my full style, you know? And I don't really know if I can think of a good librarian, folksy, playful, colorful thing, like an outfit of that I have in my wardrobe. And I don't know if that's necessary for me to put myself straight smack dab in the middle of that, but I'm more so thinking those like bridging gaps as well. There are definitely times when I wear an outfit that is only colorful. Recently I wore my pink linen and cotton trousers with a yellow t-shirt and an orange overshirt. Solid colors, solidly colorful, I will also say. It wasn't necessarily playful, but I do really like the silhouette of the tight waist and then the straight, almost wide legs of those pants and the like almost comically oversized button down. But the highlight for me in that outfit was simply the colors. I feel like they really complemented each other. I felt really good in it. I felt really confident in that bold, bright color scheme. But I think that outfit, like I said, was solely in the top circle. As for like this outfit, this is very, very librarian to me. It's this white top with a frilly collar and this midi almost maxi length skirt with the tiniest gingham pattern I have ever seen in my life in white and black. Very librarian coded. I guess it could fall into the academia, which I said was more in that gap between the librarian and the folksy, I guess. But like I have some outfits, like I said, that solidly fall in one of these categories, and then I have some that fall in 2 of them and then are in that middle space between 2 circles. I don't think I can right now think of an outfit that goes smack dab in the middle of all 3, but I don't think that's necessary for this to work for me and for my brain and for my wardrobe. Now, I definitely have items in my wardrobe that I feel don't really fit into any of these categories, but that I still like wearing and like using. For example, I have this pair of white pants that are borderline jeans, but the silhouette of them are not jeans, at least not at the top, at least not to my brain. And then I have this pair of like a warm-ish beige carpenter-ish pant, and I don't feel like that belongs in either of these categories or overlaps, and that to me is okay. I just thought it was really fun to look at the majority of my wardrobe and see these overlaps. And I guess if I really stretch it, like the carpenter pants, I guess I could put into either like eclectic grandpa, though not really colorful and not really folksy, but eclectic grandpa on its own might work. I'm pointing because of how I see the diagram in my head. I'm sorry if it's confusing. Or I could fit those carpenter pants into sort of the academia librarian thing, more like a utilitarian librarian. That's a new style. We've had like, you know, fisherman core, was that what it was called? We've had mermaid core, we've had eclectic grandpa and grandma core. Utilitarian librarian is such a fun thing to say. And it could totally work. Now I'm almost imagining that with like I'm gonna say fisherman vest, but that's not quite what I mean, but like a utilitarian vest with lots of pockets for it that someone who's going fishing or maybe hunting would be wearing. Utilitarian librarian is just the best thing to come out of my brain this entire year. I'm so glad you were here for it. I hope you enjoy it. But yes, so I guess I could fit my, I don't want to say out there pieces because I don't think those pants are that out there. I don't think the white pants are all that out there, but I guess I could fit, with a stretch, I could fit my other pieces into this diagram somehow. And by other pieces, I mean the ones that don't fully, solidly fit in anywhere. I'm wondering now if there is a 4th circle somehow. I have been trying to get away from black and grey and to some extent beige and brown, though I've really liked beige recently and I own nothing brown, but I've been trying to get away from neutrals because I've been enjoying color so much. But then there are some pieces like my white button downs that are just Chef's kiss, I love them, they're great for everything all the time, and sometimes I really enjoy a neutral color palette, but I don't really know if I want to lump all of my neutral clothes in with the librarian one or with the folksy, because I definitely don't think that many of them are folksy. I have some that definitely are, but far from all of them fit into that category. But a bunch of them are also not librarian coded. I will have to think about that. Maybe there will be an update where I somehow squeeze in a fourth circle in this, but I don't really know where that circle would go and still have the overlap that I've talked about before, you know? Because I do think there is overlap between all the three circles that I've said, but if I throw in a fourth circle, that will only really interact with two of them and the center space, if I'm thinking correctly. Maybe there could be a Venn diagram of three circles, and then the librarian one, for example, could have its own outer circle. That's not a Venn diagram anymore, is it? I'm inventing new types of diagrams and new style aesthetics, I suppose. That's what this video has become. But yes, this was very rambly, but I wanted to get these thoughts out of my brain and into someone else's ears. I have made myself a little diagram here in my notebook that I have my video ideas in, but I wanted to just talk through it to you. I've talked to Teresa about it, I've talked to Marcus about it, but I want to talk to you guys and see if this makes sense to you. I assume that you, the viewer, either likes math because you saw a Venn diagram and you clicked on this video, and I'm very sorry that there, as of now, is not a lot of math on this channel, though I do have 2 video ideas with my wardrobe and with math. Hopefully coming up, might be 3, that I have enlisted the help of my mathematician-leaning brother, my mathematician skilled brother, to help me with some equations for. It's really fun to me, but I don't want to do the equations myself because I don't like math. But yes, I'm assuming that you're either a math person, and I'm sorry that this Venn diagram was just kind of crazy, or that you are a fashion-y person, someone who likes personal style, like thrifting, that kind of stuff, which is a lot of what I make videos on this channel. And I wanted to share it with you, specifically the fashion leaning people, though the math people are also very welcome. Just don't expect a lot of math, and see if this made sense to you, if you see any other words I could use, if you see where my brain is coming from with making this Venn diagram, and if it's even a viable way to look at your closet, I guess. And I would also love to hear, if having heard this, if you have ideas for what your Venn diagram would be like, if you think you'd have one. I'm someone who, when I was growing up, I was repeatedly told that I had to stick to one aesthetic, or back then it was just called style, it wasn't called aesthetics. I was told I had to stick with one. I had to pick one and stick with it because that was the way to do it. And that has never ever resonated with me. I've always dabbled in different things, and I still am. I'm in my early 30s. I'm still dabbling, and I'm having a lot of fun doing that. And I don't think I'm the kind of person who wants to or could commit to, oh, I'm just gonna dress emo, or I'm just gonna dress cottagecore, or I'm just gonna dress whimsigoth, whatever it may be. I don't think I could commit to that. I have too much fun dabbling in different things and trying different things, even though, like I started this video saying, I think I have a pretty good grasp of what my style is. My style is still different things, you know, it's not just the one thing. And I'm thinking, if you're someone who has more of a cohesive style, if you only dress in, say, cottagecore stuff, maybe a Venn diagram makes no sense to you because everything you have goes together and is cohesive and all of that. But I think a lot of people aren't. I think there's a lot of people like me who aren't cohesive. At least they have 2 different styles or 3 different styles, or they don't consider that they do dabble in different things, which is also totally valid. I definitely think there are people just like, this is my wardrobe, I like this, and there is no like conscious thought process behind it, and that's also totally valid. It's very possible that I'm just overthinking things and overcomplicating this, but I had so much fun when I hatched this idea, when I had this moment of clarity. It was so much fun, and I just wanted to make a very rambly video on it and share it with you guys. But that is the entire rambly mess I'm going to share with you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with another video soon, so I hope to see you then. Bye!